I'd like to call to order the City Caucus meeting for Monday, May 13th, 2024. We have 21 items for original consideration. If the clerk would please, Deputy Clerk would please read item number 1.
Item number 1 for original consideration, a resolution supporting submission of an application by the City of Schenectady for the Restore NY Round 8 grant.
Discussed in committee without objection and on consent. Item number 2.
Item number 2 for original consideration, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, DHSCS, to secure grant funding under the FY 2021 Cybersecurity Grant Program.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 3.
Item number 3, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a contract with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, DHSCS, to secure grant funding under the FY 2021 Tactical Team Grant Program.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 4.
Item number 4, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a contract with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services to secure grant funding under New York State FY 2020 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program, JAG.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 5.
Item number 5, under original consideration, a resolution adopting the Albany and Crane Streets Complete Street Study.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 6.
Item number 6, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing an easement to Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation, DBA National Grid.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 7.
Item number 7, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing an amendment correcting typographical errors in resolution number 2024-089.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 8.
Item number 8, under original consideration, a resolution confirming the appointment of Harleen Andrus as representative of the Schenectady Municipal Housing Authority.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 9.
Item number 9, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing an option agreement to transfer 929, 1001, and 1014 Pleasant Street and 723 Congress Street to the Land Reutilization Corporation of the Capital Region.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 10.
Item number 10, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing the sale of 1309 First Avenue for $29,000.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 11.
Item number 11, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing the sale of 853 Emmett Street for $50,000.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 12.
Item number 12, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing the sale of a vacant lot on Page Street for $2,551.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 13.
Item number 13, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing the sale of 701 Windsor Terrace for $45,100.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 14.
Item number 14, under original consideration, a resolution authorizing the settlement of a claim by Lawrence Daly.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 15, 16, and 17 will be pulled by the request of Corporation Counsel and brought back at a later date. Item number 18.
Item number 18, under original consideration, a resolution recognizing Lisa Fagan during Teacher Appreciation Week 2024.
This item will be taken out of order and presented by Councilman Williams. Item number 19.
Item number 19, under original consideration, a resolution recognizing Lisa Adamick for over 36 years of service to the City of Schenectady.
This item will be taken out of order and presented by myself. Item number 20.
Item number 20, under original consideration, a resolution recognizing the Schenectady Heritage Foundation.
This item will be taken out of order and presented by Councilmember DeToro. Item number 21.
Item number 21, under contract and supply, a resolution awarding the bid and contract for the Schenectady Police Locker and Toilet Room contracts GC, EC, and PC as listed in the total amount of $571,450.
Discussed in committee without objection and on consent. If there's nothing more to come before the City Council caucus, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Patrick, second by Mr. Williams. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order for Monday, May 13th, 2024. And I'd like to call on co-pastor Amanda Thompson of the New Day Christian Empowerment Center for the prayer invocation. Let us pray.
Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight in humility and faith. We thank you for all you have given us and the many blessings in our lives. We ask for your guidance and your strength. Show us the way and fill us with your courage and wisdom. Help us to remember your love and guidance and be faithful in our service to you. Give us the patience and the understanding to face life's challenges with grace. Lord Jesus, you are the King and the true King of peace. In you alone is found freedom. Please free our world from conflict. Bring unity to troubled nations. Let your gracious peace reign in every heart. Dispel all darkness and evil. Protect the dignity of every human being. Replace hatred with love. Give wisdom to the leaders of this nation and all nations. Free them from selfish ambitions and eliminate all violence and war. In the name of your Father we pray. Amen and amen.
Amen. I'd like to ask Councilmember DeToro to lead us in the pledge. Thank you. If the clerk would please complete the roll call.
Ms. Toro? Present. Mr. Farley? Present. Mr. Mancini? Present. Mr. Mudavera is absent. Ms. Patrick? Here. Mr. Williams? Here. Ms. Porterfield?
Here. I'd like to ask Councilmember Patrick to please take the chair so I can present two resolutions. May I have the floor?
You may.
Thank you. I'd like to call John Coluccio to come up, please. Hi, how are you? This is a resolution recognizing John Coluccio for his 35 years of service to the city of Schenectady. Whereas John Coluccio began working for the city of Schenectady as a signal superintendent on June 12, 1989, and in 2017, John assumed the duties of director of operations for a few months, in addition to being the signal supervisor. And whereas on August 11, 1989, John received his certificate of achievement for completion of the Signal Timing Organization Program, Transit SYT-7F training provided by the New York State Energy Department office. And whereas, serving as the signal supervisor, John's numerous duties included overseeing the installation, maintenance, and repair of electrical and electronic traffic signals and controllers, and of course, being responsible for all signs in the city of Schenectady. And whereas for many years, John has worked on the Smart City project, the goal of which is to help build an environment of sustainability, efficiency, and improved quality of life by leveraging technology and innovation for the betterment of residents and businesses in Schenectady. And whereas some components of that project are the National Grid REV demonstration project, smart lighting, and the climate smart projects including solar and electric vehicles. And whereas in 2013, the city of Schenectady, Mayor McCarthy and John Coluccio were recognized for assisting the Bethesda House with photovoltaic system installation project. The project consisted of installing solar modules on the roof and installing a conduit from the roof, which carried the free electricity produced by the system to the building's utility system. Thanks to this project, Bethesda House produced free electricity and saved money on their utility bills. And whereas in 2018, John Coluccio was responsible for overseeing the rollout of Municity, a cloud-based software program developed to help municipalities combat urban blight and to help properly keep track of various properties. And whereas these highlights are just a few of the projects John has been involved in his lengthy career with the City of Schenectady. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Schenectady City Council and Mayor Gary R. McCarthy do hereby pause in their deliberations to recognize and congratulate John Coluccio for his 35 years of service to the City of Schenectady. We thank him for his many contributions to the development of the city and wish him well. I'd like to move the resolution.
So moved.
No, that's for a second.
Oh, we actually had the resolution was passed
okay.
at the last council
Thank you.
meeting, so no motion is needed.
Thank you.
Congratulations, John.
Nothing? 35 years. Nothing.
Oh, come on.
I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to work for the city for this long a period. I love the city. I always have and I always will, and I'm sure it's going to continue to prosper, and I'll be around to make sure that that's the case. Thank you.
Other way. Thanks. Thank you, John. So item number 19A, a resolution recognizing Lisa Adamic for over 36 years of service to the city of Schenectady. This will also be presented by Council President Porterfield.
Yes,
Ms.
I'd like to-
Porterfield, you may have the floor.
Thank you. I'd like to have Ms. Adame come up, please. How are you tonight? A resolution recognizing Lisa Adamic for her more than 36 years of service to the city of Schenectady. Whereas Lisa Adamic was born and raised in Schenectady, New York, and attended Mount Pleasant High School. Her family owned a restaurant in the city called Mike's Pizza Adobe, which was located on State Street, and where she worked from her childhood and developed her work ethic. And whereas Lisa began working for the city of Schenectady in 1987, first as a part-time clerk typist within the Health Bureau. During her employment with the city, Lisa has worked in many different positions where she gained a vast amount of experience and knowledge. And whereas in 1988, she transferred to the finance department, holding the titles of data entry machine operator, senior audit clerk, and principal billing, audit and accounts payable clerk. During that time, she was put in charge of the accounts payable and then the purchasing department. And whereas in 2008, Lisa went to work for the Department of Utilities and Facilities, where she then became part of the Information Technology Department, implementing, training, and programming the city's Tyler Munis financial software. And whereas Lisa, along with coworkers, worked with the city for technologies and government to design and implement the Municity software. Working along with other municipalities, she was part of developing the New York State Code Officials Data Exchange. She also oversaw all the signs, signals, streetlights, and posting of work orders to ensure completeness and accuracy, and filled in for the signal superintendent when he was unavailable. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Schenectady City Council and Mayor Gary R. McCarthy do hereby pause in their deliberations to recognize Lisa Adamic for her years of service to the city of Schenectady and to congratulate her and wish her well on her retirement. I'd like to move.
Moved by Council President Porterfield. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Williams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want to say something? Take it now. Yes, it's on. It's on.
I just want to say the same sentiments as John. It's been a pleasure to work for the city for all these years. We did some great things, and I see some great things coming in your future. And the last thing I want to say is I beat John by a year.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. Our next out-of-order resolution is recognizing Lisa Fagan for during Teacher Appreciation Week 2024. Councilman Williams?
May I have the floor?
You have the floor, sir.
All right, I'd like to invite Lisa Fagan and her family and friends if they'd like to come up front as well. No? All right. Whereas teachers work tirelessly dedicating their time, energy, and passion to shaping the minds of future generations. Their work extends beyond the classroom because they impart knowledge, instill values, inspire creativity, and foster a love for learning. And whereas Teacher Appreciation Week originated in 1953 when First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt urged Congress to recognize the contributions of educators, and it became nationally recognized in 1980 and is celebrated the first full week of May. And whereas Teacher Appreciation Week 2024 was celebrated from May 6th to May 10th and acknowledges the personal sacrifice and tireless commitments undertaken in the pursuit of shaping and molding minds. It is a time for students, parents, administrators, and communities to come together and express their appreciation for educators' dedication and hard work. And whereas this year's theme of Teachers Are Shining Stars appreciates the impactful work within this vital community that makes the world brighter one student at a time as they prepare school children for the future by their actions both in and out of the classrooms. And whereas Lisa Fagan, a lifelong teacher, tutor, and self-regarded accessibility specialist, has focused her professional career on aiding students with high support needs, Ms. Fagan embodies the true tenets of teaching by creating an interactive and reflective classroom environment, prioritizing inclusivity, and fostering deeper learning through collaboration. And whereas Teacher Appreciation Week acknowledges communities to outwardly express their gratitude to teachers while acknowledging the challenges within our education systems, such as but not limited to adapting to and engaging diverse learning styles, meeting curriculum standards, and balancing workloads. Teacher Appreciation Week is a time to listen and stand with educators to give them the respect they deserve and the resources they need to help students succeed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Schenectady City Council and Mayor Gary R. McCarthy do hereby pause in their deliberations to recognize Ms. Fagan and her commitments to our education system within the city of Schenectady. I'd like to move the resolution.
I'll need a second, please. You, second. Second by Mr. Farley. All those in favor? Aye.
Congratulations. Any words?
Thank you so much to the city of Schenectady and all of you. Councilman Williams, I'm sorry, I know you said 2 or 3 minutes, but they don't often let me speak in public, so it might be a little bit more. As was stated, I've dedicated my entire career to making life easier in the world for students. Disability is the largest minority class in the world. And as Emily Ledoux states in her book, Demystifying Disabilities, disability is the only identity that anyone can suddenly take on at any time. Think about that for one moment. When you break your leg, you need to use a wheelchair, you're disabled. Whether it's temporary or permanently, you are disabled at that moment. As a nation, we live longer and longer, and every person in this room will probably be disabled or has been at some point in their life. The problem is that we hide the visibly disabled because we're afraid of that, and we shouldn't, and we need to stop. We're masking ourselves, and we can't. As a society, we will do anything but seek the help that we need and give people the help they need. That's why it took so long for me to get my diagnosis as autistic and ADHD. But I always felt the shame of that inner ableism. And it starts really, really early, and it starts when you're tiny. I was in the 1st grade when Sister Elaine yelled at me for coloring outside of the lines in front of the entire class. Thank Betty I have a mother with a sense of social justice and humanity that she taught me. She brought me to the eye doctor, I got glasses. Then she brought me back to school, and she had my teacher apologize to me. Just knowing that I deserve that apology, and that every teacher should give each child the grace to assume they are trying every single day their best, has shaped my entire life and my career. Teachers are not infallible. We make mistakes. But sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, but every single time, we need to give kids grace, and we need to give them the apologies they deserve. My little brother, who's all grown up now, makes way more money than I do, would never have survived a classroom as they are today. He needs to move to think. He literally walks 10 miles a day now. He's the kid that moves so much that it makes you nervous. The kind of kid who breaks his arm roller skating on a Saturday and doesn't tell anybody until Wednesday. And when they get to the ER, the doctors want to call CPS. Thank God Dr. Scanlon knew us. He couldn't sit still at a desk all day. He still can't. He's literally physically not able to. He didn't go to college, but he's read more books and is more intelligent than any other person I've ever met in my entire life. I see kids like him every single day being sent out of classrooms in this nation, oftentimes in handcuffs, because the entire world changed. The world was locked down. We as educators had to learn how to teach differently, and kids had to learn how to learn differently. We came back from school, and it was like Wayne said, game on. And the education system went right back to the status quo of kids sitting in rows, being quiet, and taking bubble tests. It's not party time, and it is not excellent. The rest of society is adapting to the ever-changing world. When will our schools do that? When I work with kids, I don't just see a kid choosing to be apathetic, aggressive, or what I usually hear, dumb. I see a human being with endless potential to change our world, who's trying to communicate something, but they just don't know how to communicate it yet. I absorb and I catalog all of that information, the verbal and the nonverbal communication, because all behavior is communication. Then I use it all to make sure they can thrive in our society. Anyone who knows me knows that I probably tripped coming up here. I almost fell over there. I've often been told I'm clumsy, and I need to watch out what I'm doing. Now, as a 47-year-old autistic and ADHD disabled woman, I know I have a neurodivergent brain. And one of the traits of this brain is a disabling condition called apraxia. Basically, my brain says, go over there. And my body says, we got this. They don't got it. I have spent years feeling badly about myself because I had no coordination. No matter how much I practice some skills, I may never be able to get them done. That doesn't make me a bad person or mean that I don't contribute to society. It just means that I had to learn how to adapt my environment so that I could thrive and help others thrive. My superpower allows me to change the world for those kids, and it's a result of my magical neurodivergent brain. You see, when I look up, I see computer screens with a bazillion open tabs. And I'm not just saying that figuratively. I can actually see information in front of me. And then I can use my hands and my mind to sort the information, and I open and close tabs, and I make connections that no one else can often see for years. I can suss out information to the point that sometimes people think I'm a psychic. No, I'm neurodivergent, empathetic, as my mom likes to say. Every student I see in front of me and every coworker is a living, breathing human being. They have their own struggles and joys. Some just need more support. Some are smarter, some are more talented than anyone sitting here today, even my little brother, if he even made it in, Billy. If you cannot truly feel that in your soul, I really suggest you take a good look at yourself, read the book Demystifying Disabilities, and explore your own internalized ableism. I'd like to dedicate this resolution and my work to two very important children that have touched my life. One, I never had the blessing to meet. One saves me over and over again every day. Samantha Humphrey should be sitting in a classroom at Schenectady High School tomorrow morning. Let's not forget that a child in our community was murdered. And let's all strive to do better, and be kind to every single person you meet. The other child I want to speak about is Estefane Noble. I met her as a child in need who made a mistake. She grew in front of my eyes into a bright and beautiful and loving mother and business owner. Some of you might have known her as the Schenectady Sweets woman, who was then there for me when I needed her the most. She was one of the best humans I've ever met in my life and had the pleasure of knowing and loving, and I was beyond devastated to lose her last year. She is my angel, and she constantly watches over me. I do what I do for the Samanthas and the Estefanis and the Lucases and the Joey and all of them, all of the kids of the world, and I'll continue to do it to the best of my ability with every single fiber of my being until I join each of them. In conclusion, until our world values the expertise and the magical brains of all of our teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, and other direct care personnel with the same level of pay and respect that we give security monitors and administrators based on our education and experience, we will continue to fail as a society. Treat anyone you meet, whether they can speak or cannot speak, walk, see, or think like you do, with the same respect and assumption of competency as you would want for yourself. If you're disabled, please be loud and be proud about it. Make sure that people realize that disability isn't something to be ashamed of or something to be pitied. Make it okay to flap when you're happy. Make it okay to rock when you're sad. Take a break to regulate yourself. Bring your own hammock chair to meetings. Normalize being able to thrive as a person, because the pursuit of happiness is not just survival, it's to thrive, and that is a basic human right. And free all oppressed people across the world, including Palestine.
We have one more out of order resolution. Resolution 20A, recognizing Schenectady Heritage Foundation. I'd like to call on Councilmember DeToro to present this resolution.
Thank you. May I have the floor?
You have the floor.
Yes, I'd like to call up a group of individuals this evening who spend their many hours volunteering, researching, collecting, analyzing, and interpreting historical data. And we're so lucky and proud to have them here in our city and our county. Whereas May is dedicated to National Preservation Month, also known as Historical Preservation Month, the month celebrates the nation's heritage through historic places. Organizations across the country promote a variety of activities on the local, state, and national levels. Whether you are interested in touring historical sites or helping to preserve the history in your backyard, there is something for everyone. Whereas not only the places worth preserving, but the stories behind them are too. Everywhere we go, there is more to discover. Whether the story is found in archives or attics, you guys work there. It consists of attics. Peeling back the layers of time helps us to understand the past. Recording stories helps us to provide a rich and lively history of the people who lived and worked here. We can better imagine their hardships, what they have overcome, and the difficult decisions they made in the face of adversity. Whereas Schenectady Heritage Foundation, the foundation, is a volunteer nonprofit organization whose mission is to foster historic preservation in Schenectady County. It consists of a board of directors whose members are dedicated to the principles of historic preservation, have expertise in the field, and are committed to advancing these principles. It is registered with the state of New York, the Bureau of Charities. Whereas it is a true testament to the dedication and passion of the people involved, preserving history isn't just about maintaining old buildings or artifacts. It's about keeping the stories of spirit in place, alive for generations to come. It is heartwarming to see our community come together to honor their heritage in such a meaningful way. And whereas having dedicated individuals and organizations like the Schenectady City Historian, the County Historian, the Schenectady County Historical Society, the Schenectady Heritage Foundation, and dedicated neighborhood groups, shows a strong commitment to honoring the past and ensuring the future generations can appreciate and learn from it. Collaborative efforts like these are essential for maintaining the integrity and richness of historic neighborhoods and landmarks. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Schenectady City Council and Mayor Gary R. McCarthy do hereby pause in their deliberations to recognize the Historic Committee for the work they do here in the city. Thank you. I'd like to move it.
May I have a second, please? Second by Ms. Patrick. All in favor? Aye. Congratulations. Motion
Thank
passes.
Thank you, Gloria.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman DeToro. I just want to thank the city and the mayor for supporting Schenectady Heritage Foundation's initiatives to preserve the history of the city of Schenectady, along with my colleagues that were just up here. We really appreciate working with the city on projects that are both big and small. Everything from changing the zoning of the historic Masonic Temple to smaller projects like supporting with a grant from the foundation the revision of the historic preservation guidelines for the Historic Commission, who we love working with. And we look forward to working with the city in the future on all sorts of projects, including smaller ones like houses that the city sells. We're currently working with you on 130 Front Street that we hope will soon go through. another house will be saved in the stockade. But we appreciate all the efforts of all the people that work in historic preservation, and we hope to continue in the future. So thank you so much.
I'll ask for approval of the minutes for April 22nd, 2024. Moved by Mr. Williams, second by Mr. Mancini. All in favor? Aye. I'd like the clerk to read any communications and petitions.
Communications presented to City Council from Monday, May 13th, 2024. Under official, from Mayor McCarthy, a letter recommending Harleen Andrus to the Civilian Police Review Board. Under general, from Paul Kazee, an email requesting either a stop sign or speed bump for Becker Street to slow down traffic. From Rabbi Matthew Cutler, a letter recognizing Israel Independence Day and the importance of Israel to the Jewish community and requesting sincere efforts to ensure the safety of Jewish residents in our community. Under petitions, none.
Thank you. Call on council members for any committee reports. Any committee reports? This time we'll have privilege of the floor related to the legislative agenda, and I have no one signed up to speak, so I declare public comment on the legislative agenda closed. I'll ask for approval of the consent agenda. Moved by Ms. Patrick, second by Mr. Mancini. All in favor? Aye. This time we'll have privilege of the floor regarding general city business. I have 29 people who are signed up to speak. I just want to just go over the rule guidelines, because I know that many of you are not from our municipality and have perhaps not been at this meeting before. We do have a 3-minute time limit. You will hear my phone go off when your time is up. If you're in the middle of a sentence, I will allow you to complete that. However, please don't go much over that, because then I will have to ask you to summarize. We do have 29 people signed up to speak, so that's a lot of speakers, and everyone deserves their opportunity. So please, I would ask that you respectfully stay within your time. The first speaker is Zarif Hanif. Is Zarif Hanif here? Okay. The next speaker is Imam Jamal Shah.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam President, honorable council members. As you can see, not my people, but the people have gathered here to remind you all once again. We have a ceasefire resolution that was proposed to the City Council. We've heard public comments from the mayor, from some of the council members, basically minimizing the ceasefire resolution. And we're here to remind you all of your collective humanity. We're here to remind you all that you can move this resolution to the floor for a vote and make it public as to where you stand. Those who are in favor and those who are not. No feelings will be hurt, but it will help us as the people understand your position on a matter that is a red line for us. This is important for us. I say this on behalf of the residents of the city of Schenectady. There's no danger posed to anyone, but I will remind you that when you don't listen as an elected official to the people who you're supposed to represent, you probably won't hold that seat for too much longer. That's just the reality of politics, isn't it? So I say, with the utmost sincerity, reaching out to you again, where in this resolution do you find hate? Where in this resolution do you find racism, anti-Semitism? Where in the resolution do you find it problematic to just simply say, yes? Rabbi Matthew Cutler, who issued a statement that was read on record, would appreciate the fact that the resolution calls for the release of Israeli hostages held in Gaza. The Palestinian brothers and sisters that we have, They would appreciate the resolution being passed to speak to the atrocities that their families have had to endure for the last 7 months and 75 years. I've come to you speaking in different ways. I've come to you to appeal with my hat in my hand, but now I'm coming to you to appeal very directly. We had the resolution to honor the teacher, and you heard her last words. Free Palestine. The last city council meeting we had just over 3 weeks ago, since then, what has changed in this country? I want to ask you all to reflect upon that. The young people, the next generation of leaders, the people who will be sitting in your seats in 20 years, in 10 years, in 30 years, in 40 years, in 50 years. They are not sitting quietly by and saying, this has nothing to do with us. They are putting themselves, their careers, and their futures on the line. But guess what? Their future is a lot brighter than anyone else who chooses to sit by and let things pass, as if they have no role to play. All we're asking you is to pass a ceasefire resolution. We're not asking you to roll up your sleeves and go to Washington and appeal to the senators. We will do that. But we need this resolution passed here to show that we can actually affect change within human beings who were previously uninvolved and uninitiated and unaware of this whole conflict. Now, you have a choice. You can choose to ignore us. You choose to ignore us, that's as good as saying no. I want to remind you of that. There is no way out. You have to say yes or no. And we leave you with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Faris Amir.
Hello, my name is Faris Amir. I am a native New Yorker, a resident of the Capital Region, and I'm a Palestinian American who's been blessed with the opportunity to live in the West Bank. I want to just take a moment to introduce you to what my life was like living in the West Bank. Let me start with the school bus to school. What should have been a 7-minute ride became a 50-minute ride because the intersection connecting my town to the city where my school was in, Palestinians weren't allowed to use it. It was a segregated road only for Israelis. And when we had to go on a detour 50 minutes, we'd stop at a checkpoint some days and be randomly searched, taken off the school bus, have our bags and bus searched. The occupation of water, when we'd come home from school on random days and find that the Israeli authorities had said there's not enough water to go around for everybody. Today there's no water for your village. Meanwhile, across the street, the Israeli settlements, 24/7 access to water, to electricity. Despite this and many other small or big hardships that we faced, I could not be more thankful to be Palestinian, and I am so lucky to be from the West Bank, because had I been from a town 1 hour west, I might be trapped in Gaza right now. I might be stuck under the rubble right now. I might have had to bury loved ones, lost limbs, had my house bombed, my university bombed. Maybe I would have been a victim of an airstrike. So why does it matter that you hear our local representatives call for a ceasefire? I'd like to think that if I was born in Gaza, stuck under the rubble, you'd still value my life the same way if I was there as you do that I'm here. And it doesn't matter where I'm from, what my skin color is, what my faith is, that you'd value my life regardless. Thank you. Ceasefire now.
Ahmad Abu Hamik.
Thank you. My name is Ahmed Abu Hakma, and I'm also here proposing that you pass the ceasefire resolution. As Rabbi Cutler had mentioned something about recognizing the independence of the State of Israel, it's important to note that the 15th of May, 1948 holds a very tragic historic date for the Palestinians. It is the catastrophe that befell them. Namely, that the state of Israel was established on the death, destruction, dismembered bodies of Palestinians and the destruction of their homes, including my wife, whose family are refugees. Similarly, it is true that Jews had fled Europe to flee religious persecution, and at the same time they established their state by destroying a Palestinian society. Just as it is true that the founding fathers of this country were fleeing religious persecution in Western Europe, and they established this country on the backs of slaves and on the genocide of Native Americans. If you'll allow me, I'd like to speak about my family who lives there. I have relatives in Jerusalem who are from the quote-unquote full citizens of Israel who enjoy complete rights. My conversations with them are basically non-existent now because their phone lines are tapped and they will be thrown into jail if they say anything to criticize the state. My relatives in the West Bank are basically living under house arrest with a completely stalled economy. Their cash crop, the olive, they were denied half of their harvest this year. When I went in 2004, I could access farmland that I couldn't access in 2009. Grandpa, why can't we go there now? Because that road is just for Israelis. Well, what happens if we cross that road? Nothing will happen to you, grandson, but I will get shot if I cross that road. And that's nothing compared to Gaza. But it has everything to do with Gaza because the game plan is to suffocate the Palestinians in the West Bank so that it becomes another Gaza. And as we're talking about suffocation, we have to recognize that people aren't eating. About a month ago, a girl by the name of Charlotte Buskey, 5 years old in Schenectady, was found dead in her home, and police came to the conclusion that she was starved by her father in this town. And he faces up to 18 years in prison, which I think is very light, personally. What then should be said about a country in Israel who makes it their public policy to starve a captive population in Gaza? Happy belated Mother's Day for the mothers here. And yet it's very difficult to celebrate Mother's Day when the bedrock of society, nice ringtone, let's turn it off. Oh, that was a timer? Okay.
That is your timer, sir.
Okay. All right, I think it's very clear. You're either going to offend a people committing a famine and a genocide, or the people who are suffering from it by the decisions you make. Please make the right choice. It's very obvious.
Barbara Smith.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here at your council meeting this evening. Thank you, council members. Thank you, President Porterfield. Thank you, Mayor McCarthy. My name is Barbara Smith. I'm a resident of Latham, New York, but for 37 years, I was a resident of the city of Albany. I served on the Albany Common Council for 2 terms, from 2006 until 2013. So following that, I was invited by and hired by the mayor to establish the first equity agenda for the city of Albany. So I have 12 years of government service late in life. I'm here today to, of course, support that the Schenectady City Council introduces and passes a ceasefire resolution. As you well know, the Common Council of Albany passed the first ceasefire resolution in New York State on January the 4th. I was a part of the small group that worked night and day to help that to happen. Many, many more people than the 8 of us, and there were only 8 of us who worked very, very hard The fact that I had been a member of the Common Council was helpful in that context because I knew what the rules were. I knew what was possible. And it was some of the most important work. I wrote that the night that, actually I think it was the night in December when we went to the Common Council, not the night that it passed, but I wrote to friends of mine. I said, this is some of the most meaningful political work that I have ever been involved in. And I have been involved in working for justice since I was a teenager in Cleveland, Ohio in the early 1960s. I thought that this was some of the most meaningful political work that I had ever been involved in. And one of the reasons it was so meaningful to me is because we did something that means much to me, that is really kind of the bedrock of why I do many of the things I do. That is, we worked in coalition across differences. We worked with members of the Muslim community, of the Arab American community, of the Palestinian American community, of the Central Asian community, not just in Albany, but in the entire region to get that passed. Just like tonight, with this standing room only crowd here in your city hall, hundreds of people came to support the resolution that eventually was passed. And you know I have been to a lot of council meetings. I was on for 8 years. I was going to council meetings before I was on the Common Council. So I have been to many council meetings. I had never seen people come out by the hundreds to support what they needed to support. That's the end of my time. I just want to tell you about an article that I hope that I can send to your clerk and whoever passes out and shares things with people on the council. It's an article that says, it's from The Nation, it's dated March 21st, 2024. 100 American communities have called for a Gaza ceasefire resolution. 100. So this is not an outlier. This is not strange to do. At certain times, people have to stand on the right side of history. I hope that the Schenectady City Council does the same.
Jamaica Miles. Jamaica Miles.
This is not division, this is unity. I need you to remember that. This is not division, this is unity. This is unity across all types of intersections. So don't let anybody fool you about who is calling for this. On Saturday, I attended the Hamilton Hill Collaborative mural unveiling Through Your Mother's Eyes. It is centered around mothers and sons, specifically those sons whose lives were cut short by acts of violence. Medical violence in the case of Jerry Burrell, vigilante and police violence in the case of Martin Luther King Jr., Emmett Till, Tamir Rice, and George Floyd. Today is the 39th anniversary of the MOVE bombing in Philadelphia. In 1985, police raided and bombarded the headquarters to MOVE, a black liberation group founded in the early 1970s. The group fought for an end to redlining and housing discrimination. The group was accused of making terrorist threats. In 1996, a federal court ruled that the city used excessive force and violated constitutional protections. In 2021, Princeton University forensic anthropology course allegedly did a case study using the remains of 2 children killed in aerial bombing. The University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology held the remains before transferring them to Princeton. The medical examiner's office found a box labeled MOVE, containing uncremated remains. How is this relevant to the need for a ceasefire resolution in Schenectady? The things that this very body should be shocked and shaken by are happening to people in Palestine right now. Every single part of what I read is an everyday reality for Palestinians for being Palestinians. The same way that what happened to all of those people right here in this country happened because they were black. In the moment, those in power saw no issue with the inhumane treatment of one particular group. Excuses were made. The same is true today. The value of human life is not treated as equal. If you believe otherwise, it will not be understood by your silence. It will be known by your words and your actions. Right now, it is US dollars that are paying for the murder of Palestinians, the overwhelming majority of civilians, especially women and children. If the people who represent this city and are in charge of making decisions in the best interests of its residents are not able to condemn egregious acts of violence, why should we believe that you will be moved to help those of us right here? The residents in this city need housing like those that were bombed in Philadelphia in 1985. The residents in this city need health care just like Jerry Burrell did. The money that is being sent to Israel to kill would be better used in Schenectady to heal. Are our residents not worthy of your advocacy? As elected officials, we, because I am an elected official, as elected officials, we are to use our position for the betterment of our community always. A resolution from the City Council would send a clear message that our residents deserve the resources necessary for their basic needs and more. A ceasefire resolution says that Schenectady City Council condemns violence and prioritizes all life. This is a message that all of us can support, and I will close with the same message that I shared with the artist Bianca Dalila, that even though the revolution may not be televised, it will always be recorded.
Megan Levine. Megan Levine.
Mayor McCarthy, President Porterfield, honorable members of the City Council. As you've heard, my name is Meg Levine. I am Jewish and I seem to be very much alone. I never thought I would need to declare my religion before a local government body, but that is likely the least imaginable thing that has occurred since October 7th. I appear full of sorrow, yet determined to persevere, to feel joy, and to hang on to hope for a better tomorrow for all of us. As is evident in our theology and culture, centuries of Jewish people have teetered between sorrow and joy. Today, though, is particularly significant, as we do annually, once again, within 24 hours transition from the sorrow of Yom HaZikaron, which is our day of remembrance of fallen soldiers and victims of war and terror, we move towards Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day, 76 years of struggle, strength, sorrow, and joy, but little peace. And I totally understand, without responding to the comments behind me, that that is not the same view that others have of that time. And I'm not here to do a history point by point, or whether your facts or my facts are more to the point to this issue, or in fact correct. But I will say that today, as I mentioned, sorrow and joy at weddings of Jewish folks, you even might have seen it on the movies where the groom steps on the glass. That glass is the broken synagogue in Jerusalem of 70 CE, a presence of Jews in Israel from thousands of years ago. My continued Jewish studies as an adult is connecting me to Israel. Our liturgy and our prayers speak to Israel and Jerusalem over and over again, our spiritual home, as it is indeed the spiritual home of Christianity and Muslim. I also have read Islam, and I've also read articles that have deepened my understanding of the pain of those who now live in Gaza, the West Bank, and Jordan, those who previously lived in Israel's 1948 borders. That both peoples experience deep pain is incontrovertible, yet the actions of some want to deny the pain of the other. I do not. As I listened and heard in the first of these city council meetings, the pain runs deep among those who speak in favor of the local body entertaining a ceasefire resolution, intended to address international affairs. Yet the City Council's jurisdiction is not international. It can't broker much hope for peace, can't address what happens the day after, or deal with the necessities of the details of the ceasefire. We have heard these resolutions waved around, advocating one perspective, very much like placards and banners, can't possibly contain the nuances of it all. Instead, it's like we won, they lost. That is not the kind of resolution that will bring our community together. And I end by saying, I believe it's submitted for the record, a statement on behalf of Rabbi Matt Cutler, David Posner from the JCC, Robert Kovach from Jewish Federation, and Rabbi Spitzer from Congregation Agudat Achim. The focus is here on this community. It is with, I will wrap up and say it's with this, I feel kind of alone with all the other comments. This is it, I think, for this view, that this committee focus on joining this community together, bringing this community to a sense of peace, decreasing the stress in this community. We had a stronger interfaith community. It's frayed. We're all frayed. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Selwa Khan.
Good evening. My name is Selwa Khan. I was born and raised in Schenectady, New York, and I've just finished my junior year at UAlbany studying political science with a concentration in global studies. Thank you. This semester, I took International Security and Conflict, where we learned about the attributes that make a conflict a war. There must be two or more sides, and there must be organized violence, one military versus another, not a military versus civilians like it is in Rafah as we speak. And it must be reciprocal violence. Both sides must be subject to and committing similar levels of violence, which all of us know has not been the case in Palestine for the last 76 years. None of the requirements have been met to call the current conflict in Palestine anything other than ethnic cleansing. What we are seeing is a genocide. And your children have been learning through our public education institutions about genocide for years, and we are saying enough. The young members of this community who you claim only when it is beneficial are begging you to do something. Consider and pass a piece of legislation at the bare minimum calling for a ceasefire. My university student senate was able to write and pass one calling for a ceasefire and divestment in just a few weeks. Albany City Council did one calling for a ceasefire in a few months, and you all won't budge. We know what resistance to genocide looks like. We are finally learning what true, diverse coalition building and community looks like through this movement for liberation. Schenectady's prettily painted walls are still walls, not bridges, without working against injustice for all. We know we need ceasefire resolutions at all government levels and divestment, but our elected officials, like yourself, our representatives, will not listen. We are being brutalized on our campuses, in the streets, denied job opportunities, and face hatred because we speak out. But we persist because Palestinians are being indiscriminately bombed every day. Because Palestinian mothers celebrated Mother's Day without adequate pre- and postnatal care, with starving children and with dead children. We still find the courage to stand up in the face of indifference, apathy, pro-genocidal bodies like this one, because Palestinians are losing limbs without anesthesia, because Palestinians are in actual recorded concentration camps with conditions so horrible it made me physically ill to read. Which begs the question, do you not see what we see? We sit here and endure apathy and abuse at city council meetings and our universities because there are no more universities in Gaza, because 6-year-old Hind died alone amongst her family's corpses, because the Israeli occupation forces that our government funds killed the aid workers who went to go save her. I will stand here and I will shame elected leaders until there is a ceasefire resolution passed through this body, until there's an end to an occupation of Palestine, until Gaza is no longer an open-air prison and Palestine goes back to being the land of olive trees and citrus fruit, stewarded by the indigenous people of the land, instead of a land of bombs and destruction, a corruption that can only be caused by colonial occupiers. This is not the time for apathy. It is the time for education, especially from a body like this in a city as diverse as ours. The body has stood against oppressive violence at home. Keep that energy up for the same oppressive violence abroad. Forever and for always, free Palestine.
Valerie Triano. Valerie Triano.
Good evening, Mayor McCarthy and City Council members. I am here tonight standing in solidarity with Palestinians and in support of a call for a permanent ceasefire and an end to the Israeli occupation of historic Palestine. I feel guilt-ridden knowing I have Palestinians' blood on my hands from my federal, New York, and Schenectady taxes that have been funding the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians. An estimate of $962,074 of Schenectady taxes funds Israel's weapons. Why are our local taxes funding weapons for a foreign country? I'd much rather see my Schenectady taxes fund fixing our infrastructure, Schenectady County libraries, education, and helping the homeless on our streets. Never again means never again for all of humanity. I have hope we'll see a free Palestine as there's global solidarity with Palestine speaking out against the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians, being a cause of unity with folks of different religion, race, class, gender, and ethnicity coming together. It's important to ask yourself when your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren ask, what did you do during the Palestinian genocide? What you do now is your answer to them. These last 219 days have been absolutely horrifying, witnessing the suffering and deaths of Palestinians. This isn't a Judaism versus Islam conflict either, as the Israeli military have also been killing Christian and Jewish Palestinians as well. Rafah is being heavily bombarded by Israel, which is filled with refugee camps of Gazans from the Israeli military, forcing Gazans out of Gaza and into Rafah, stating Rafah would be a safe zone. This, to me, is a clear act of ethnic cleansing and genocide, as Israel knows Rafah is filled with refugees and civilians. To conclude, I'd like to remind everyone we are all human beings who bleed the same and who deserve basic human rights, decency, respect, love, and to feel safe. Thank you for your time to listen to my words.
Thank you. Tracy Collins. Tracy Collins.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Tracy Collins. I live on the corner of Queen Philomena and Kings Road. Since the last time here, my property was destroyed again for the 8th time. We are now in the tens of thousands of dollars. Sometimes people don't have insurance. Money comes out of my pocket. I'm tired of this. I'm here to beg you. I'm here to plead with you to do something about Kings Road. Enough is enough. Slow the speeding down. City clerk just made a comment that somebody put in that wants a speed hump and a stop sign on Becker Street. Becker Street has several stop signs and several traffic lights. We only have one traffic light. When is enough going to be enough? Please step up and do something. My family's life is in danger. All I'm asking you folks to do is do the damn right thing. We're not going to live like this anymore. Please, bring your kids to our house. Play in our yard. You won't do it, I guarantee. Mayor, Mr. Toro, I thank you for coming to our home several times. We appreciate it. How do you feel about living in your house? We don't feel safe in our house. So I'm here to ask you one last time, do something about this road. Mayor, I asked your administration 3 weeks ago, coming up from Route 7 up Albany Street onto Kings Road. There's no sign there to tell people the bridge is closed until you turn onto Kings Road. Cars are flying up Kings Road, going down to the bridge, wailing the hell out of there. Somebody's gonna get seriously hurt on this road. So again, I'm here to ask you nicely, please do something about this road. Thank you and have a good evening.
Fatima Isa.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Madam President, and members of the Council. Thank you for listening to us as we return for the 4th time to City Hall in support of a ceasefire resolution. Today, I will not speak at length of the targeting of innocent civilians in Gaza and how the Israeli army uses precision-guided drones to kill Palestinian children. Children who are playing with their friends in the streets, on the beach, or in a field. Instead, I would like to use my time to thank all those people of conscience who have spoken up in support of justice for the Palestinian people. In particular, I would like to thank those among us who practice Judaism, a religion which does not in any way condone Zionism. They deserve to be singled out for thanks because they are people who continue to fight for justice in spite of the criticism and condemnation they receive from their own communities. I am in awe of them because for me, they are living examples of a verse from the Quran which states, "O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or parents or relatives. Whether one is rich or poor, Allah is more worthy of both. So follow not personal inclination, lest you not be just. And if you distort your testimony or refuse to give it, then indeed Allah is ever with what you do acquainted." In response to those who have stated that pushing for a ceasefire resolution is causing division and hatred in our community, I quote the American historian Howard Zinn, who said, "They will say we're disturbing the peace, but there is no peace. What really bothers them is that we are disturbing the war." In closing, I relate advice from Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of God be upon him. Help your brother, whether he is an oppressor or he is an oppressed one. The people asked, "Oh, God's apostle, it is all right to help him if he is oppressed, but how should we help him if he is an oppressor?" The prophet said, "By preventing him from oppressing others." May we be of those who call out oppression when we see it, and thereby help the oppressor, because the opposite of war is not peace, it is justice. Thank you. Thank you.
Waleed Hawana. Waleed Hawana.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I would say shalom also in Jewish. We are brothers with everyone in the world. Unless this person treat us unjustly, then he is not our brother anymore. So we recognize all Muslims or Jews or Christians, all of them who are united together for humanity. We don't come to anybody who is against humanity. I came to Schenectady in 1975. I think before most of you were born. In 1975 I came. And I love this city, and I know a lot of people in the city, and the mayor, he honored our school. He came and visited us once. I am very pleased to be here, but I'm not going to repeat everything they said. All what they said is genuine and correct. And I think all of you know that it is correct. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Zaladon.
I would like to start with the greetings as my husband said. Assalamu alaikum, which is peace, and I will say shalom as well, because my religion taught me to respect all religions, to respect everybody. Where on earth did it go? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I wrote something, and it meant to be not to be read, because I wanted to say it from my heart. And I know what it comes from the heart is going to go into the heart of every single one of you here. Because all of us here, we are humans. What you have inside your body is the same color as of mine, as the ones in Gaza. I am originally a Palestinian, but I was deprived to visit Palestine except once in my life. And the reason that I was privileged to get into my ancestors' land, my parents' land, is because I got the US passport in my hand. I was born in Kuwait. I immigrated to this land by my parents as a choice. I chose this land to become a US citizen. And I wanted my kids to have an equal life as everybody in the world. But I never thought my US citizen, by obeying the law and the order, by following the law, by paying taxes, is going to kill my family back in Palestine. I just can't live with that. I'm a mother. I'm an educator. I just cannot see children have a school year without a school, without a parent, without a school bag or a lunchbox. I cannot enjoy the new year because there is nothing promising. There's nothing promising knowing that my tax money is going to continue funding genocides in Palestine. Please, Palestine is a beautiful land. It's a blessed land. It's known in all the holy lands, okay? And all the religions. It's the land of everyone. It does not give superiority over one religion or a group. Please, let's enjoy it, all of us. I want all of you guys to come and enjoy Palestine. But until then, you're going to have to go to sleep. And you're going to sleep with your conscience, knowing that there are children are dying and they are starving, knowing that there are mothers like me and you. I see that half of the staff here is women. And the rest, you have mothers and you have wives, so you know what it means. Please remember, you are going to be changing the history with your decision. Stop the genocide.
Mohammed Dahalia.
My name is Mohammed Dahliya. I'm a Palestinian American. I was born and raised in America, but I've always had my connection to my homeland because I know where my parents are from, where my grandparents are from. And the fact that I can't go back to my homeland because of an imperialistic, colonistic, genocidal state. And the fact that I come over here to the land of the free, the land of the brave, but it's full of cowards and people who protect genocide, and who protect prisons all over our country, prisons all over other people's countries. And the fact that I'm in this city, the city that I spent majority of my life in, and I come to the city hall that I know that it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we were talking about Ukraine and it was a big trend. You guys would all have little Ukrainian pins on your guys' shirts and what's it called, apples and stuff. But nobody here has a keffiyeh or a Palestinian pin or anything, because there's no support from you guys. And it's so easy for you guys to give us support, to show a little bit of support. And the fact that we do not see that already shows us where you guys stand. We want you guys to be voting for a ceasefire, for more than a ceasefire, because that's not where it should be ending. Okay? It's just supposed to be freedom for Palestine, freedom for Gaza, freedom for the West Bank, freedom for all oppressed countries in the world. And it is an American city, and an American state, and an American country that has to be in charge of that, because we're the ones that imprisoned them. We're the ones that helped imprison them, even when they were not gonna be. It is our concern. 100 cities said they put out a ceasefire for a free Palestine. We need to make it 101. We need to make Schenectady proud of itself. Do you know what the average person outside this city hall calls Schenectady? They call it shit city. Schenectady. That's what they call it. Because they're not proud of the city they live in. But you guys can make Schenectady proud, because this average Schenectadian is for a ceasefire, is for a free Palestine. Majority of Schenectady is for that, because they have morality, they have hearts, and they understand that these people are being oppressed the same way we have people oppressed here in America, and they can't stand for that. So why are we standing for that anymore by paying tax dollars to people who are not willing to change or willing to show any type of bravery for the oppressed? When we are able to go from town to town, to city to city, to state, okay, some people fly to other countries just to protest, just to show help, to show solidarity. And here in our own city, we can't do that. I just want to end with the fact that you guys are here now, and soon, if we do not see any changes, people will vote for people who will want changes, who will put in changes, okay? You guys know the walls have been plastered. The news has been shown. You guys know, like, you don't need to do anything because you guys already know what's going on in Palestine. Okay, nothing we're gonna say is gonna say anything new to you. The question is are you guys planning on staying in those seats forever, or do you guys wanna leave as soon as possible? Because that's what the votes are happening. You've got every city in the capital region coming here to tell you guys that you guys need to change. And we're gonna also tell you guys that at the polls if we see anything different.
Miriam Hawana.
Assalamu alaikum. You do not know me, but I am a senior in high school, and I am currently 14 years old. I am very eager to graduate, but I'm also very grateful that I am not eager to survive the next bomb. I am grateful that I am not living in rubble and surrounded by deceased family members and friends. It is utterly disgusting that me and my peers are able to go to school every single day with the main worry of homework and graduating. But my sisters and brothers in Palestine are unable to go to elementary school. because of the constant bombing, raids, shootings, and the fear that in the next hour, their body will be lost among the rubble, unrecognizable to their only family and friends. It is shameful and sickening. It is shameful and sickening that these past weeks has been the media circulating around a goddamn fashion show with these millionaires.
I'm going to ask people to please, let me excuse you. Can, please, the profanity has got to stop. Please. That goes for everyone that's going to come to this podium. We've been respectful, we've allowed you to come, but you need to respect our chamber as well. Thank you.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
It is sad that these past weeks has been the media circulating around a fashion show with these millionaires and billionaires that spend more money on shoes than the amount of standing buildings left in Palestine currently. The fact that I can go anywhere on social media and continue finding influencers with a high amount of followers and just having a high pedestal in the world of media, and they continue to stay in their selfish ways by supporting such corporations such as Starbucks and McDonald's due to either being uneducated or due to being ignorant. It is disrespectful to not only Palestinians but also themselves. It shows when you put no effort in making decisions. It shows when you stick to your own selfish wants instead of the needs of the people in Gaza and Rafah. It is necessary to understand that the majority in America show their undeniable support and anguish towards Palestinian pain and suffering. I hope that you can make the right decision. Thank you.
Amna Dahalia.
I will overlook introductions since this day is not about me, it's not about you, it's about Palestinians. I wrote a little something, just a little bit of poetry, a little bit of spoken word. In 3 minutes or less. In 3 minutes or less, please explain why the city of Schenectady should approve a ceasefire resolution in Palestine. In 3 minutes or less, please explain why the wholesale slaughter of Palestinians is wrong. In 3 minutes or less, please describe how 75 plus years of occupation and apartheid have now led to nearly 40,000 deaths and over 6 months of war. In 3 minutes or less, please describe what it is like to live in between checkpoint to checkpoint in a country that your great-great-grandparents were born in. In 3 minutes or less, please explain why any form of resistance, from peaceful to armed to artistic, is condemned and stamped out so that any level of sympathy for your condition is buried. In 3 minutes or less, please explain what it is like to know to call your home is a crime. In 3 minutes or less, please explain why your people have to be forcibly displaced to atone for the sins of Europeans and their racist ideologies that follow us into this day. In 3 minutes or less, please convince us of your humanity. In 3 minutes or less, please pretend that any level of human rights extends to Palestinians. In 3 minutes or less, please justify Western imperialism without calling it Western imperialism. In 3 minutes or less, please give context for the military-industrial machine to wreak its havoc in Gaza the same way it did in Afghanistan, the same way it did in Iraq, and the same way it did in Vietnam. In 3 minutes or less, please explain rage, grief, resistance, anti-Semitism, revolution, Islamophobia, hope, faith, freedom, intersectionality, environmentalism, acceptance, tolerance, equality, and exchange. In 3 minutes or less, please remind us how absurd it is that you are only given 3 minutes or less. Your timing is important. We cannot inconvenience the system that was created to ensure our obedience and our silence. Please keep your words to a minimum because we don't actually want to hear them. Remember, we only have 3 minutes or less, but please do forget the images of a father carrying his children's limbs in plastic bags, of a boy cleaning up his mother's remains, of universities and hospitals bombed into rubble, of entire lifetimes buried beneath the ground, of whole families wiped out of existence. In 3 minutes or less, please maintain your decorum and respectability in a time that is the most undeserving of it. In 3 minutes or less, please describe what it is like to be Palestinian, knowing that there are no words too big to fit your pride and your pain. In 3 minutes or less, please give us what little remains of your strength so that we can discard it as we have already done, and we have already done with our morality. In 3 minutes or less, I can end it by telling you to keep your pity and your false sympathy, that regardless of whatever decision is made by a corrupt government living on stolen land built off of stolen labor, we will live to see every nation free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Sahib Shakima.
So today I'm choosing to raise my voice on behalf of those who lost their voices and those who lost their lives. Let it be known that we are officially asking you to bring this resolution to the floor and show us where you stand. But before we do that, I want to tell you this. This is unity right here. You're talking about gender, age, whatever you talk about, sex, religion. I am telling you, I am an interfaith leader. And I'll tell you this, ISIS hijacked Islam, and Zionism is hijacking Judaism. That is, and I'm going to tell you where division stands. There is always division. There's the right and the wrong. There's the oppressed and the oppressor. There are those who are on the right side of history, and there are those who are on the wrong side of history. There are those who stand united in front of you, and there are those who are the cowards behind the screen typing those emails and sending them to you. There are those who are standing behind the screens, and there are those who are standing in front of the camera. There's a division between us today who are standing and sitting here and you guys. And I'll tell you where the division is. We are speaking, you're listening. But tomorrow we want it to be known. Are you going to be standing with us on the right side of history, or are you going to maintain this division? And I'm going to tell you this. As we plan for today, as Muslims, we say this. I plan and you plan, and God has the best of plans. From the prayer that actually was shared with us, God has put, what's her name? Amanda Thompson's, I believe, and she prayed for Gaza, whether you liked it or not. A teacher stood here being recognized, and she prayed for Palestine. And you passing these resolutions, this hypocrisy. I'll tell you this, I'm a father. I can preach to my kids day in and day out. Do you know what they learn from? From my actions. You know what's the worst thing I can do for my kids? Is I tell them, do as I say and do not do as I do. So I'm asking you, are you going to keep passing those resolutions, taking those nice pictures, or are you going to stand on the right side of history? As it was mentioned before, the history is being recorded. And I'm telling you this, you cannot recognize a teacher while you are indifferent to those teachers who are being killed in Palestine. You cannot bring somebody to the city hall to pray to God, and you know Jesus, and God will ask you and say, where did you stand? You cannot ask for bravery and you're cowering behind a desk and sitting as you're rumbling and worried that, do I have to vote? Yes, you do have to vote, whether you like it or not. And today, all of us are standing here today saying we're tired. We did extend that invitation to people who claim to be for peace. They refused to join us hand in hand. We extended that. We spoke to some of you guys, and some of you refused to speak to us, but you went to the newspaper because you want to sound like you are making a statement, but that is the most coward thing that anyone can do. So I'm telling you, we're all collectively standing here today asking you to bring that resolution to the floor, and we will vote just like you will vote. I promise that. And for those who told you, and conclude with this, who told you, don't worry about these people, they will be gone, we're here. We're larger in number, we're more diverse, and we're even louder.
Haroon Sawar. Haroon.
Respected council members, my name is Harun Sarwar. I represent Masjid as-Salam, a religious not-for-profit organization in the downtrodden area of Albany. Some of my colleagues are joined here where we asked for a ceasefire resolution in Albany, which was passed, you can say, with the majority of the people. Today we're asking for something similar. Asking for ceasefire, I think, is probably the most humbling thing somebody can ask for. An end to violence is not something which should be just let go. Why do we recognize the violence that occurred in Ukraine, but we fail to recognize this? I worked at the office of the state comptroller until a few months ago, and as soon as the war in Ukraine started, there was a flag outside the building for Ukraine. And how come is it that they belligerently fly the Israeli flag at the beginning of the conflict and nobody asks for the voice of the Palestinians? We have done everything which is possible. We have protested it in front of the Albany Capitol. We have done anything and everything. Our kids are suffering from depression. Asking for something, a ceasefire, although it's symbolic, it makes people feel, it makes kids feel that they did something right. It's a gesture. It's not something which is going to maybe have a profound effect, but at least for the people of the residents of the Schenectady and the Capital District, it gives some sort of comfort to their heart that they did something that they could possibly do peacefully. So once again, it's not something very difficult. Please stand on the right side of the history, be recorded in the books as you did something for peace. We're not asking for violence, we're asking for a ceasefire. Thank you so much.
Frank Wicks. Frank Wicks.
Okay, Frank Wicks, just comment on a prior one. Says the ISIS has hijacked Islam, Zionism has hijacked Judaism, and they'd say the political right wing and others in this country, the Israeli lobby, has hijacked the American democracy. It's good that this meeting of the City Council starts by recognizing the people and teachers and volunteers that make Schenectady a better place. And everyone should be appreciated for being here tonight. We can envy someone with the good luck of winning $1 billion in Powerball, but everyone in this room is even luckier by living in Schenectady rather than in Gaza. We can be silent or we can do what we can to stop it. My decision to start doing what I can happened in early March when I saw a Palestinian child missing 2 legs and an arm with an American warhead delivered by Israelis. I don't believe the lie that this is necessary for Israel to defend itself as part of Israel's 76-year plan to either kill or displace every Palestinian. And they're now in the end game final solution. And it's really up to good people to stop it or not to stop it. At that point, I came to the first meeting with my Jewish friend Larry and my Muslim friend Mohammed. And we suggested the ceasefire resolution, a pretty minimal thing to do. Approval of the ceasefire is the right thing to do. You can put Schenectady on the right side of history. Thank you.
The first name is Ibrahim, and the last name starts with S.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Peace and blessings upon you all. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Ibrahim Safir. I'm a Capital Region resident, and I'm here to demand a call for ceasefire. And I wanted to start with a question, and it's a very simple question. Why not call for a ceasefire? When after 35,000 plus have been massacred and many more are missing under rubble, as we speak out, there's ongoing bombardment of Palestinians, and who knows how many children, innocent men and women have been killed since now. Over this past weekend, my friends graduated, and I was able to talk to my mom as it was Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here. That awesome feeling that I had was quickly soiled when I juxtaposed it to Palestine, to people in Gaza, to people in Rafah. There are 0 universities left. There's no one graduating. Instead, there are entire populations being starved and denied the most basic of human rights. There's lives being cut short and entire lineages being eradicated off the face of the earth. So I ask you, is this what we stand for and support as Americans? Is this why we go to work and pay taxes so that we can fund something like this? The bodies being piled up in pieces under the rubble? Again, my first question, why not call for a ceasefire? What is so complicated about calling for an end to massacres, the return of hostages, an end of starving, and an end of killing? What is so hard about that? Someone earlier said someone said it's more of a you win, you lose, but it's not. What is so you win, you lose when everyone can be safe, when everyone has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? This is what we were taught to believe as Americans. This is what I was taught to believe as an American in this country. I'll tell you what is divisive, though. Occupation is divisive. Apartheid is divisive. Settler colonialism is divisive. And forcing Palestinians to be eradicated and suffer in silence and asking us, the rest of us, the people of consciousness, the people of humanity, to look the other way, that's divisive. I asked you all before what is so difficult, but the truth is, this is not a difficult decision, nor is it complicated. Take a look at the people behind me. See all of our wonderful diversity. We're a coalition of folks from all walks of life, shades, and colors, and we're growing day by day. As this conflict is raging on, the dust is starting to settle, and sides are being taken. So I ask you all, what side are you on? Are you on the side of humanity or justice? Or are you on the opposite of that? And what legacy would you like to leave? The lady before, she said she wanted to bring peace, give wisdom to the leaders, and free them of their ambitions to replace the hatred and eliminate the violence and war. Prayer is awesome. Thought is awesome. That is something that we on this line can do. But you all have the ability, and now you have the responsibility, and it is incumbent upon all of you to use that responsibility, to use the power that you have been given by these people. You have been elected by the people. You've been selected by the people. And if you do not exercise that right in a just manner, you will be replaced by the people. So I urge you. I urge you all to do the humane thing and to do the right thing, to do the just thing, and to call for a ceasefire. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Peter Looker. Peter Looker.
Thank you for your time. As a city taxpayer, this won't cost us anything for you to vote tonight for peace, but it will save billions nationally. We need a ceasefire now. Jesus of your prayer would want you to act now. I pray you follow his teachings. Yesterday was the 154th anniversary of Julia Ward Howe's proclamation of Mother's Day of Peace, which said, "Arise, women of the day, arise, women who have a heart. We women of one country will be tender to those of another country. Disarm, disarm, the sword of murder is not the balance of justice. It sounds like a call for ceasefire by this wise, moral mother of Mother's Day. Last week, Egypt, Qatar negotiated a ceasefire hostage release, but Netanyahu refuses to cease fire and exchange hostages, despite cries from all those hostage family members. If you care about the hostages, support a ceasefire now. If you care about innocent Gaza babies and children, vote ceasefire now. Netanyahu's army kills over 70 innocent Palestinian babies and children in Gaza every day. Yes, 70 innocent babies and children every day. Silence is complicity with genocide. Please vote ceasefire now, tonight.
John Romano. John Romano.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Romano, and I want to connect the dots for you on why it's so important. What happens overseas in Palestine can help influence what happens here in New York and Schenectady. So I actually share my story a lot with law enforcement and people around the country, because people right here in our hometown know who I am or what I've done. When I was 16 years old, I went into Columbia High School in East Greenbush, New York, with a 12-gauge shotgun. I committed a horrible act of tragedy, and I tell you, one of the influences that had on me was the constant seeing of bloodshed around me. Now, that doesn't justify what I did. What I did was horrible. But I thought that the world had no real meaning or purpose, because all I saw was chaos and hatred. And that, to me, made me feel like there's no point. There's no reason for going on. And I hated what I became, because I became the monster that I was once afraid of. And I'm telling you that when people, especially these kids who are watching on a day-to-day basis videos of bombings and killings and genocide, they are influenced by that here in Schenectady, here in New York. And if you think you're not, you're very misinformed. So please, you asked us earlier with your voice to stop swearing, stop the cursing. We're asking you to use your voice and say, stop the bombing. That's all.
Ron Soriano. Ron Soriano. Lisa Soriano. Joseph Lehman.
Hi, my name is Joseph Lehman, and I'm a resident of Schenectady County, and I wanted to advocate for a ceasefire for Palestine. I go out on the corner in my neighborhood, and I stand out with a Freedom for Palestine sign, and I'm met with disrespect, middle fingers, and just blatant disrespect, and it upsets me that I have to go out there and deal with this blatant disrespect from people who are uninformed on this conflict, and to see politicians just promote this ignorance among the American people and thrive off of it. And to see people with bigger voices than me not do anything when I have to use my minuscule voice to try and get a message across, and just see blatant corruption in the government and nobody doing anything about it. I just want to see justice and peace, and it's not rocket science. 1,200 people dead is wrong, right? But 10,000 people dead isn't wrong. 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 people dead isn't wrong. It's not rocket science. It's not. All we're asking for is peace. We're not asking for anything extravagant. We're asking for a means of speaking. We're asking for a means of representation for the Palestinians. We're asking for a negotiation, a means to exchange prisoners, hostages, everything that Israel claims to want but rejects every time they're offered that. That's all we want. So we'd like to ask that you use your voice for us on account of us having to be brave for you, and join us in our bravery. Freedom for Palestine. Please support a ceasefire. Thank you.
Heather Beno? Heather? Okay. Rod Hubert? Mark Mishler? No? All right. Is there anyone who sent in a request to speak whose name I didn't read? I believe we captured all the online ones, but I want to make sure if there was no one that sent an online request and did not get their name called. In that case, I have no one else signed up to speak, so I declare the public comment of city business closed. At this time, any miscellaneous business of the council? Mayor? So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and we heard you. We've been listening and hearing. I can't make any promises. I could repeat the same thing I've said over and over, but you've heard it before. So appreciate you coming, and certainly we've heard your voice, and well, just, those who will just take into consideration, I really, we've talked about different resolutions, but we have not considered the one that you've brought forward. I will say that. So I'm sorry, excuse me. Excuse me. It is my time to speak. I did not interrupt you. This is not a back and forth. You were allowed to speak, you spoke, and now I'm making my comments. And I appreciate that respect from you. No, sir, there's no question and answer, but I will speak with you after the meeting if you like. Thank you. So that is all I have to say this evening, and with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn? Moved by Ms. Patrick, second by Mr. Williams. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Have a good night.
She's a lawyer. She's not on the council.